So let's start to look how to create subtitles in chart.js 4. First thing what we need is of course our boiler template, which you can find here on chartjs3.com getting started, or this specific link here, which you can find as well in the description box. Once you're on here, scroll down and copy this chunk of code here. Copy this, and we just paste that in there, and I'll just put in here the title. In there we are. Save, refresh. Now we have our basic bar chart here, but what I want to do is I want to explore the documentation for this. To do that, we need to go to chartjs.org, and then we're going down here to the configuration, and then in the configuration we're going to select here the subtitle. And you can see here the subtitle, as it says here, is a second title placed under the main title. And how do we add this? If you look very carefully, you can see here it's within the options, and then it has a plugin, and that plugin is called Subtitle, meaning there's a built-in plugin already created in chart.js for this. And what is very interesting, it has the same configuration options as title, so basically it's just the same structure of it. So let's start to create one. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to follow along here. We're going to scroll down. We're going to look for options. In the options here, we're going to say enter. We're going to say your plugins. That's the namespace or the object where it should be in. And then in here, we can say here subtitle. Once we do this, if I save this, refresh, nothing happens. And the reason why nothing happens yet is we need to indicate the options. And if we look here very carefully, it already indicates that it has the exact same configurations as the title, which is here. So that's why there's no real information in here. But if I click here on the title, we can follow along with this specific page. So first of all, we're going to say here to display. By default, it's a Boolean value of false, meaning it does not show by default. So once we do this, let's say here true. So the display on true instead of false. If I go back here, refresh, what will happen is you see here now we have some space assigned to it. And this is directly within the canvas, because if I open up my developer tab, you can see that we're still in the canvas, so the canvas has assigned some additional space. So it's not a paragraph or any kind of element. So, but we don't see it. So what we need to do to make it visible is to indicate what is the text. And the text can be a string value or an array value with string values within them. So what we're going to do here, text, we're going to say here, my subtitle. Save that. Refresh. There you are. You can see here now we have my subtitle. What we could do as well is to create an array. We can say here an array, and then we put comma here, and we say here sales. Save this. Refresh, and as we do that, it starts to break down and put it on the next line. So that's one of them. So what do we have more? Well, there's a lot of things that are very identical. We can copy here, for example, the alignment, where you can control where we would like to position it, basically, or not even position it, putting it to left, right. So let's do here that. I'm going to say here, comma, I'm going to say align, and then we're going to say here it is at the start. If I'm not mistaken, it should be start, or is it left and right? Now these are start, so that's nice. At starting point, and or by default, which is in the center. Of course, we could move this subtitle as well in any other position by saying position, and then we can indicate here right side, for example. Save that, refresh, and now we move it to the right at the very bottom. If I put this back to center, we have it like that. And if we put it here like start, we're pushing it all the way up. So what I would do prefer is just to put it on the very top. That's the easiest one to read for us. Alright, so now we have that. What can we do more? Well, there's a lot of basic options here. The padding. And what's very interesting with the padding, it only allows us to control the top and bottom padding. So left and right are not possible, even though if you click on this, it will indicate options, for example here, padding left. However, it reference to another place, which is the general padding object. Anyway, specifically, these two are only possible. Why? Because we can control it already with the alignment of left, right, center. So what we're going to do here is, comma, we can say here the padding. And then this padding is an object, so we can say here for the top, we can make this 50. if I save this, refresh, you can see here now we get some additional space. What we can do as well is put a comma for the bottom, and the bottom, or basically the padding in itself, is already a default value of 10 on top and bottom. So what we could do is say 0, and let's see what happens then. Apparently it just maintains its own position. So if I go back here, make this 10, oh, there we are. Oh, probably it's here. Sorry, I didn't saw it really good. Let's confirm it one more time. Refresh, and as you can see here, it moves slightly up. I didn't spot that immediately. Anyway, like that. So we could control this, or we could just say here, I want top and bottom by default both have the same value of 10 or 40, for example. And you can see here it will work nicely. So are there some other real valuable items? Well, I think another one is probably the font, where you can control the font weight or more. Let's click on this and explore this a bit more deeper. You can see here font, and this goes us, or this directs us to the font options. We can see here the size, and you can see here multiple options that we can use as well. These are all options that are allowed, but they are an object here. So what we have to do is we're going to indicate here the font, and then we break that down, and we can say here, for example, the weight, and the weight could be bold. Well, let's set this on bold, save that, refresh, and you can see here now it becomes bold. What we could do as well is the size of it, size, and let's make this 30 pixels. Save, refresh, and now it expands massively. So, and there are some other line height and everything, but these are quite self-explanatory. So I guess most of these are here, and is there anything else that is useful? Probably not really. Color, there are some default color values, but by default it is, of course, the hashtag 666. That's the dark grayish color, and we could change this as well. Comma. Oh, how do we do that? I'll put in here, comma, say here, and we could say here blue instead. Save that, refresh, there you are.